They're serving up source code at the Microsoft antitrust settlement. What's inside the code has 9 states chomping at the bit and Microsoft crying foul. Is it fair to make them share, or is the software giant just making excuses? Hello and welcome to Silicon Spin. I'm John C. Dvorak. Microsoft's being forced to give up its source code for Windows XP. It's a demand that legal analysts say is akin to Coca-Cola giving up its coveted secret formula, as if anybody cares in this day and age. But as Tech TV's Chris Kosach reports, that's not the only problem facing Microsoft right now.
February hasn't been particularly kind to Microsoft. The antitrust case continues to plod along. And at issue, Judge Colleen Collar-Catelli ordered that the 9 states and District of Columbia, all still pursuing the case, be given access to source code from Windows XP, Microsoft's crown jewel. The latest court move highlights a number of recent events that puts the company in a hard place. First, Microsoft's code problem, releasing Windows code and hoping it doesn't slip into the competition's hands. The states also want Microsoft to begin shipping a stripped-down version of XP, one that would be void of its web browser, messenger, and media player. Finally, Bill Gates and CEO Steve Ballmer may end up taking the stand in March.
We believe we can be an even better industry leader. We accept the responsibility that goes with the success of our products. We are making changes that come with this agreement, and we're going to make sure it's a very successful settlement.
It's not over. In March, the remedy hearings get underway to decide Microsoft's monopoly punishment.
Anyway, the question is, should Microsoft have to reveal the inner workings of Windows? That's our discussion today. And if you have questions or comments, give us a call at 1-888-989-7879 or email us at siliconspin@techtv.com. You can also take the viewer poll, and we're asking if you think Microsoft should reveal the Windows source code. Head to siliconspin.com to answer that question. Now let's introduce today's guests. Coming to us from Washington, D.C., Jonathan Zook, president of the Association for Competitive Technology, which tries to preserve innovation and competition in the technology industry without government intervention. And in Mountain View, California, we've got Mark Ostrow, who is the partner in the intellectual property group at Fenwick and West. He's also chair of the firm's antitrust group. And let's start with Mark. Mark, is it fair to order Microsoft to reveal its source code?
Oh, sure. This is much ado about nothing. People do this in cases all the time.
One example.
To step back for a minute, whenever there's a trade secret case, for example, the plaintiff is required always to tell what the trade secrets are, so that before you can even begin discovery.
Okay, no, but you don't tell the public necessarily.
Oh, no, and in this case, nobody's telling the public anything. Remember, this is all under a highly confidential protective order, so that a very limited set of people are ever going to see this code.
And so what are they expecting to find by looking at this code?
Well, that's interesting. There's a lot of issues in the case regarding commingling of code, regarding whether it can easily be unbundled or not. That's obviously a key part of the state's remedy. And what Microsoft is essentially saying is, it can't easily be unbundled, but take our word for it.
Okay, Jonathan, what's wrong with that?
Well, I mean, there's a number of things to respond to there. I mean, one of the problems is that the remaining states in this case have not been that good about adhering to protective orders. An awful lot of information has flown directly from these AGs to people like Mark's client, Sun Microsystems. I mean, there's a lot of information flow that seems to be taking place outside the courtroom, and I think Microsoft's justified to be concerned.
Yeah, but let's be fair here. If somebody says, we need to see the source code to prove something, you got to show the source code to somebody who knows what they're looking at.
And the judge
not a bunch of lawyers.
I agree, and so judge has Professor Holler, who's already looked at the source code as part of the Tunney proceeding anyway, looking at the code, and I think we're fine with that. I think it's more of an issue of just sort of, stepping on the notion of protecting trade secrets and intellectual property, and Sun's been trying to get at Microsoft source code for years now. They're trying to do it in Europe as well, and so it's all a little suspicious.
Why does Sun care about Microsoft source code?
Oh, because they think that they'll be able to get, insights into how to make their servers work better, implement things like Active Directory and things like that.
Their servers work better than anything that Microsoft's come up with. Isn't it a possibility that they want to look at the source code
of them to see if
Microsoft's stolen some code from them? Isn't it possible that Microsoft lifts code here and there and then buries it somewhere? I mean, that's a possibility.
I don't see Microsoft out asking for anybody's source code.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that they haven't looked this up. I mean, a lot of the source code is open. For example, everybody knows for a fact that Microsoft's TCP/IP stack is taken from FreeBSD. I mean, it's just assumed that it is, and all the tests show that it is. Isn't it possible that Microsoft has lifted code from people? I mean, they got burned on that Stack Electronics case some years ago for literally stealing somebody else's product. I mean, is it possible that that's what's going on here?
They stole a method of doing something, and they settled that case and things like that.
Yeah, they settled, but they lost the case.
But they didn't steal any source code. But yeah, no, they definitely settled that case.
The only point I'm trying to make is that is it possible that people are trying to look at the source code not to lift the source code, but to see what's in there that maybe be...
No, it's perfectly possible.
Okay.
It's perfectly possible. I'm not trying to say it's not possible. All I'm saying is that it needs to be done in a controlled way, and the states have been a little bit notorious about not being controlled about information. Now, as far as what can be found there, I think the other important distinction to be made is that Microsoft isn't arguing that it's impossible to remove Media Player, for example, from Windows, but that instead this notion of being able to freewheel and force Microsoft to create 4,000 different versions of Windows is impractical from a testing standpoint, from a usability standpoint, et cetera. That's a much bigger issue than the pure technical aspects of whether or not Media Player can be removed from the operating system.
All right, let's take a break. I'd rather have them leave Media Player in there. Anyway, remember, we want to hear from you. If you have questions or comments for us, give us a call at 1-888-989-7879 or email us at siliconspin@techtv.com. You can also take the viewer poll, and we're asking you, should Microsoft reveal the Windows source code? Head to siliconspin.com to answer that question. Now, coming up is revealing the source code catastrophic. That's next.
Coming this April, the Tech TV. For the first time on television, Tech TV's 2002 Technology Festival. A month of amazing television about the technology impacting your life. And gadget giveaways every day, all month long. From communication to transportation, from medical breakthroughs to the world of sports, technology is changing the way we live, work, and play. And Tech TV is the television network that covers it all. And during Tech TV's 2002 Technology Festival, you'll see it all like never before. Also in April, don't miss Tech TV's great gadget giveaway. Every day, all month long, a new chance to win flat panel monitors, PDAs, digital cameras, and more. It's all part of Tech TV's 2002 Technology Festival, coming this April, only on Tech TV.
Right here, right now.
For 4 years, we were together every minute. These days, I see him maybe once a year. But just get two of us on the phone, and there's a party going on.
Introducing a new concept in long distance. AT&T Unlimited. $19.95 a month for unlimited long-distance calls to any other AT&T residential long-distance customer. All 50 million of them, no matter what plan they're on. Just call 1-800-REACH-OUT to enroll in AT&T Unlimited. And for $19.95, make all the calls you want. Talk as long as you want, whenever you want to AT&T customers. Plus, it's just 7 cents a minute to anyone else.
Today, we're spread out everywhere, L.A., New York. But you'd be surprised how often we find ourselves back in that house.
Let your long distance be unlimited. Enroll in the AT&T Unlimited plan at 1-800-REACH-OUT or att.com/unlimited.
Some folks call it a lawn. Some call it a yard. But it's really more than that. It's a piece of your life with a life all its own. Sometimes a playground, sometimes a ball field, always a gathering place. So how do you care for a piece of land that will be in your family a long time? with a piece of equipment that will also be there. Cub Cadet isn't like other tractors. It's better made, and it's dependable and lasts for years. And right now, it's more affordable than ever with 0% financing. Cub Cadet builds its tractors with welded steel frames and cast iron front axles. Most tractors feature the added performance of solid steel drive shafts, and we back them with a 5-year limited warranty. Call today for your free copy of the book, Big Ideas for Big Yards. Find out more about the complete line of Cub Cadets and for the name of a dealer near you. Buy a tractor now and enjoy 0% financing until January 2003. Cub Cadet. It's simply the best tool for your piece of the planet.
So far, Judge Kohler-Catelli has appointed a Utah professor and a computer expert to examine Microsoft's code, with more to come. But Jonathan, let me ask you, isn't this code highly scrambled, and a lot of it hasn't been updated for years and is not very well documented? This could take years to figure out what this code is all about.
Well, I can't really answer for that. I know that the Windows code base got a little bit scrambled because there were little fixes so that Lotus 1.2.3 version 2 would run in a DOS box and things like that. But with the Windows XP sharing a common code base with Windows NT and Windows 2000, I think that's probably a lot cleaner, and Professor Holler shouldn't have too much trouble going through it. Again, you know, the sort of control.
Well, yeah, but then let's just look at the sheer number of how many lines is involved here. This is like something like what, 100 million lines of code?
Yeah, it's about 40 million lines of code, I think.
Yeah, well, this is not having any trouble. I mean, this could take, you know, decades to just figure out by the time they're going to keep upgrading. Mark, I mean, there's an impractical aspect to this.
Oh, no, you know, remember, this can be a rifle shot. They don't have to look at everything, and I don't think anybody's even thinking of that.
What are they looking for then?
You know, they really need to look at the APIs, the interfaces, the calls for the various middleware products and seeing whether there's something going on there or not. And it's all it is, you know, what Microsoft should hope is that everybody gets to see it. They say, look, we were telling the truth. We're not hiding anything. Everybody says, yep, you're right. We can go home now.
They're never going to do that in a million years, and you know it. This looks like a witch hunt. And if they did reveal the code where a lot of people could look at it, they'd be so criticized for sloppy code. I mean, everyone who's written a book about Microsoft from the inside complain about this internally, about the code is not, you know, necessarily something gorgeous.
Well, so that's no news. Everybody knows that that's not gorgeous. So they're not going to, all they could be is pleasantly surprised and say, look, XP really did clean up its act. But remember, they're not going to talk about this. And I want to do just one thing that I think is kind of funny. In cases where one party is suing another, they're arch competitors, and that they often they get rights to view each other's source code. The notion here to say, well, somehow it's okay to give it to your arch competitor, but we have to be concerned that these evil miscreants known as the National Association of Attorneys General can't be trusted is kind of humorous.
Well, there's some humor there, but in some other ways, it's actually beyond funny. Taylor has an email for us.
Hi, John.
Hello.
We have an email from Jason who says, if I want to get a browser or operating system other than Windows, I can. But if I want to use another telephone company or cable company, I am out of luck. So how does that make Microsoft a monopoly?
Mark, do you want to address the monopoly issue when compared to the phone company?
Well, let's start with two wrongs don't make a right, based on today's vote in the House, but on phone monopolies. But you have to kind of look at what's practical and what's not. Monopoly does not mean that it's the only choice. It means that they have the power to exclude competition or raise prices, and it's been demonstrated. And it's been gone on appeal and demonstrated. So we don't want to argue the same battle.
Jonathan, you're shaking your head. It has been demonstrated. Microsoft is a monopoly. They agree to that.
Well, no. I mean, yeah, they've called a monopoly because they have some market power. But let's remember, the Netscape gained all of its market share while there was a browser in the operating system, while there were all these exclusive agreements in place. They only started losing market share when their browser started being inferior. So, I mean, even Judge Jackson
No, they started losing market share when Microsoft started paying attention. It's got market share was lost when Microsoft started paying attention, not because the browser was inferior. In fact, the first few, come on, everybody, you can look at the reviews from PC Magazine.
If you look at the reviews in PC Magazine, they coincide with the loss of market share. It took to version 4 almost before the Microsoft browser took over. You're just asserting that. The facts belie that, John. They didn't start losing market share until the reviews started going against them.
You got to remember, just remember though, in the world of law, the law is what the judge says it is. And guess what? The D.C. Court of Appeals already decided this. It's silly to re-argue it.
Now, going back to this browser thing, Jonathan, I would say that I like and I still do, I prefer the Microsoft browser over the Netscape browser, but my argument was always, hey, this one's free, it's just as good right now, and maybe will be better in the future, but it's free, and so this will be around a lot longer than the other one, so I'm not going to hook my cart to the other one. I mean, I was on the Microsoft bandwagon, but it was unfair competition.
Well, the point is it wasn't unfair competition. The only finding by the court was that the browser
if I have a product that I have to sell, to make money, I got to sell this thing for $19, $20, and you're just giving it away, and, you know, you're keeping up with me. This is not necessarily fair. You're giving yours away. I have to pay. I have to, you know, try to generate some income.
Oh, cry me a river.
Well, I would if I could.
So they were only able to sell the company for $10 billion.
Yeah, okay. Well, you know, Microsoft's putting $1 billion in the bank every month. Somebody's making some money here, and it's not me, and it's probably not you, actually, although it might be. When we come back, if Microsoft isn't hurt by giving up its source code, there's someone else who might be damaged, and we'll tell you who next.
We are the fast cats in the global energy business. We're much leaner, more agile, and a lot more innovative than the other cats. And that's why to a fast cat, anything is possible. Conoco. Think big. Move fast.
How to cut your current monthly bills by as much as 50% or more.
Hi, I'm Bob Vila. Sometimes, no matter how hard you work at it, you just can't seem to make ends meet. You're writing those checks every month, and you just barely have enough money to pay your bills, much less save anything. Want to change all that? Here's how. Call Home 123. They can help you cut your monthly bills by as much as 50%. Let's say these are some of your monthly payments. Home 123 can show you how to turn all those payments into one low monthly payment that could be as little as half of what you're paying now. In this example, that would be almost $500 extra in your pocket. Just think what you could do with money like that. You could make it happen right now with one call. If you own your home, call Home 123. Even if your credit isn't exactly perfect, they'll come up with a loan that's right for you. Call now and see how easy it can be to make ends meet. Call 1-800-HOME-123 or visit us on the web at home123.com. It's how to get the money you need.
This way. You're not going to believe this. What was stolen? Everything. Payroll, R&D, customer records, all the assets.
How could they get everything?
I don't know. You're the cops.
The room is completely empty. All the assets were in this room?
Everything. Ned, the servers. They stole all our servers.
No, we moved everything onto that one. It's going to save us a bundle. I sent out an email.
IBM e-servers running Linux.
What's a server?
They can save you a bundle.
Welcome back. We're talking about Microsoft and the court order to reveal its source code. The Association for Competitive Technology says that this decision will cost consumers and software developers $80 million. Jonathan, how's that work?
Different? No. That's different.
That's 80 billion, maybe.
That decision actually has to do with forcing ISVs to deal with multiple versions of Windows with and without middleware. That's a different question, and I think a more important one than the one about the source code.
Well, what is the story here then?
Well, I mean, the situation.
Who gets hurt by this besides Microsoft's feelings?
Well, I mean, basically the bottom line is that if you take a Windows platform, a Windows standard, a fairly ubiquitous standard, and then create multiple versions with some with voice recognition, some without it, some with media playing capability, some without it, the software developers that make use of those APIs and that functionality in the operating system have to do a lot more testing, create multiple versions of their software, and incur additional costs.
Well, isn't that the way they're... Well, I don't know. This seems like a specious argument to me. And the reason I say that is because with Windows, the way it is now, you can disable and enable various features when you install the program. And the thing is never the exact same.
Mostly that has to do with end-user access to those features, John. And so as a developer, I still depend on the fact that the underlying APIs are in place for me to write my own software.
There's plenty of APIs that you can flip off with a flip of a switch, and when you drill down on one of these menus, Oh,
Not really.
don't shake your head. You know for a fact, I can show you. I can do it right now on a machine. There's all kinds of things you can disable, and that disables the APIs.
That's not true.
I could turn off the dialer. I can take a bunch of things out of the operating system.
Well, you could turn off the dialer, certainly, but then the user is still
changes
empowered.
the API. You can't talk to the dialer if it's not turned on.
That's true, but the user still has the ability to turn that on, though. I could pop up a message that says turn the dialer back on, but if Dell ships me something without the dialer, in fact, included at all, I can't ask the user to turn the dialer back on, can I?
Well, can't you have it buried in there with some sort of switch? Was that part of the court order where you can't have these things still?
That is, in fact, part of the settlement agreement that's in place and being reviewed right now. But the proposal by the remaining states is to, in fact, remove the underlying middleware as well from the operating system.
Is this right, Mark? They want to take out and gut the operating system in a million different ways, the way Jonathan describes it?
Well, this is where I get to finally say, Jonathan talks about how late he wants to have the market decide things. This is perfect. This does let the market decide. So Dell gets
the market's deciding now.
No, Dell. So this is what happens. So Dell decides: do they take the full feature version, or do they take a version where they put in the middleware they want? They're not stupid. They're not going to go out to sell the customer something that doesn't work. They're going to say, hey, this is a great way for me to differentiate it and put in something better, I think. So then the consumer says, okay, I get the...
But John, you know that substituting Real Media Player for Windows Media Player would not be an effective substitution from the standpoint of a software developer. If you remove Windows Media Player and the underlying APIs for it, putting Real Media Player in there so that Dell can make some money on a cross-licensing deal still leaves developers out in the cold. It's not the same thing. There aren't analogous replacements in many cases.
Well, I'm not going to. I actually would agree with Jonathan on this point as much as adamant as I am. And I think that...
And I don't disagree.
Well, what you're describing, Mark, is an exercise in futility, it seems to me. Yeah, Dell can do this, they can do that, and then they lose out in the marketplace because people need Media Player instead of Real Player. You keep getting, I've had this thing installed and reinstalled a million times, and I keep getting messages about how I have to upgrade. Hey, I just upgraded, and then something comes in and disables the upgrade. The next thing you know, I can't run the thing anymore. It's unbelievable. So you want to kind of simplify things, it seems to me, which means that Microsoft should be bundling a lot of this stuff.
Well, that would be, that's the great paternalistic view of the world. That's why, and if you believe that, we'd still just have AT&T instead of...
Oh, Lord.
We do. It's the way I see it.
AT&T was a government-created monopoly. The paternalistic world is the one where the government designs software. That's what we have to prevent.
Well, okay, so Bill Gates gets to decide instead.
Well, somebody's got to make a decision.
Users can still decide to use whatever software they want to use. I can still install Real Media Player even if Windows Media Player is in the operating system. A lot of people use Netscape even though IE was in the operating system. In fact, the #1 use for IE 1 and 2 was to go download Netscape Navigator because it was better. So the primary beneficiary of there being a browser in the operating system was Netscape.
Oh, interesting point. Anyway, let's take a break on that. I knew he'd come up with something eventually. Next on Silicon Spin, the Microsoft antitrust trial. Will it ever end?
Attention computer users, Computer Fair is back this Saturday and Sunday with hundreds of exhibitors slashing prices beyond belief.
I got a really great deal on a 64 meg AGP GeForce 2 for $58.
Today I got a case, power supply, a couple of DVDs, and a fan.
Find more than you could in 100 stores: computers, printers, monitors, multimedia, modems, memory, software, books, supplies, furniture, thousands of games, and much more at a fraction of the price. Computer Fair, Saturday and Sunday at the Fairplex in Pomona. Admission is only $7.
You know, ideas and inventions come from people in all walks of life, and most of the century's top inventions came from individuals, not companies. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? Are you interested in trying to submit your idea to companies for a good faith review and in trying to patent it as well? If so, Invention Submission Corporation has information to help you get started. ISC is America's largest inventor service firm with over 50 offices nationwide. Call this toll-free number now to see how to get this free information. The information includes forms to assure confidentiality, a form to record and date your idea, plus an informative brochure that explains how to submit your idea to companies through ISC's data bank, and how to apply for a patent. Even if you only have an idea for improving an existing product, you'll want to call now for ISC's free information.
For your inventor's information, call toll-free 1-877-772-IDEA. That's 1-877-772-IDEA.
America is still strong, and we salute the backbone of our economy, the independent small business owner. Now you can gain independence, make big money, and have the time to enjoy it. Call Teleking Communications Corporation, 1-800-207-7677, and discover an incredible offer to run your own wholesale distribution business. This high-profit opportunity is the American dream. Be your own boss, work part-time or full-time, and earn big money with no direct selling on your part. Get all the facts now on how you can take advantage of this turnkey operation. Availability in your area may be limited, so call today. Teleking will help you increase your income and give you the freedom to enjoy the things that make America great. Operators are standing by to help you. The call is free, and there's no obligation. Take charge of your life, earn big money, and have the time to enjoy it all. Teleking. For your free brochure and video, call 1-800-207-7677 now.
Finished something, but are never quite done with it. Isn't it done when it's finished? See, these people think up an idea. Then they figure out a way to make it just a little better. Then more ideas come, and they keep making them better too. So they're never really finished. Maybe these people have some kind of weird DNA. They're smart. Smart but kooky. I wonder what they're going to think of next.
Welcome back. Let's go right to Taylor, who has a phone call for us. Taylor.
We're going to simmer down, fellas, and take a call from Adam in somewhere.
Adam somewhere. Go ahead.
My big question is, for people who do not have a choice in operating systems, like Dell and so forth, from Dell and so forth, would they be able to download Internet Explorer and Windows Media Player if they prefer it, instead of having to use whatever they've put in there instead?
Well, I don't know what I'm not absolutely sure what he means by that, but Jonathan, that's affirmative.
Yeah, I mean, you can always download Internet Explorer, and people download upgrades to it now, certainly. The issue isn't so much about the little browser. That's like talking about Notepad. The issue is the presence of the underlying technology in the operating system that software developers like me use to develop software, for Windows. And keeping that in the system is what's important to us.
All right. Mark, and by the way, I should mention, actually, let me mention to both of you, the reason that I'm so surly today is because last night I was working on a Win2K system looking for a network setting, and I found myself drilling down a million option menus and clicking on a million tabs and then going deeper into advanced tabs to find one little box to click, and it took me an hour and a half to find it. Doesn't make people too pleased about the way things are organized over there. It would be nice to see what the source code looks like, just so maybe somebody could go in there and fix it. Anyway, Mark, we have an email. Never mind. Yeah. We go right back to Taylor.
Victor, who writes, is it possible that Microsoft will alter their source code to cover any violations that could be done for other software products and our privacy?
Well, I don't know, Mark. Would Microsoft, if, say, the source code was looked at and somebody said, hey, there's some problems here, would Microsoft do anything about it? Would they be obliged to?
Well, they wouldn't be obliged to, but, I'm sure they're always looking to, in at least some cases, I will give them the fact that they probably do try to comply with the law. So, if something is found and there's an issue, I'm sure they take a look at it. Probably the most likely is if there's some open source code in there that creates some problems from them under a GPL or something.
Jonathan, what's the chances of Microsoft just saying, okay, we give up, we're just going to release the source code to the public?
Well, I mean, again, they already released certain amounts of source code to universities and things like that. They have a code sharing agreement with large organizations like Anderson to allow them to write, better programs. So, I mean, I think that they're inching their way into trying to find a way to share information that people might find useful without really giving up trade secrets.
Okay, well, that's
finding that balance is a challenge.
Well, that's it for today, gentlemen. Thanks. I'd like to thank both our guests, Jonathan Zook of the Association for Competitive Technology and Mark Ostrow of Fenwick and West. Now, the results of the viewer poll we asked, should Microsoft reveal the Windows source code? And 70% of you said yes. That's pretty funny. And the other 30% said no. And those people all work at Microsoft. Join us again tomorrow for Silicon Spin's Tech Week in Review. I'm John C. Dvorak. Thanks for watching.